everyone, welcome to another Top 5 Wednesday. So, Top 5 Wednesday, it was created by Lainey over at Ginger Reads Lainey, linked to her channel as well as Goodreads page down below. So this week's topic is our top 5 best character arcs or developments. So coming in at number 5, I have Alex from the Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And this is sort of exactly almost like Vampire Academy, where there are some group of people who are training to become warriors to defend the elite group of people, except this series is rooted in Greek myth, and once you get past the first book and second, I think you really see the plot division and how both stories sort of take off in two opposite directions. Alex is a decent warrior at the beginning of this book, but by the end she is fantastic and pretty much the best warrior there. She goes through a lot of plot driven changes as well, which are fantastic, and just her overall emotional state, who she wants to be in the future and who she is right now, really changes, and you get to see that change as the story goes on, especially in regards to who she wants to be with romantically. And then her friend system around her really helps her and also changes her at the same time. She really cares about what people think about her, despite her not wanting to sort of show that side of herself, and she definitely goes through a fantastic development. Coming in at number 4, I have Percy and Annabeth from the Heroes of Olympus series. Now, I'm not going to say too much about this because it is kind of spoilery, but you definitely see a drastic change in the last maybe 2 or 3 books of that series. Definitely the last 2, especially the final book, which had a lot of controversy around it. You know what I'm talking about, something lacking from that book. But we definitely go through a lot of changes, and these are sort of changes that are forced upon them, and they definitely mature as the series goes on, and they mature in their emotional understanding of each other, the relationships that they want in their future, and what they think is morally right and morally wrong, etc. So there is definitely a huge change in maturity level, as well as those other things, and something brought on by the plot. But yes. Coming in at number 3, I have Sydney Sage from the Bloodline series by Rochelle Mead, which is the spin-off series of Vampire Academy. She definitely goes through a drastic change. If you know anything about Sydney, you know that she's an alchemist, and she has been raised in this alchemist environment where she was raised to hate vampires, and she does. She thinks they're vile, disgusting creatures, and that was in Vampire Academy. Now we have a whole new series centered strictly around Sydney, and she goes through a lot of changes, and it's really great to watch from each book how she progresses a little bit more until she is the character near the end, and it is a fantastic transformation to watch. And at number 2, I have Arya and Sansa Stark from A Song of Ice and Fires by George R.R. Martin. I'm not going to say too much, but they definitely progress in 2 very different directions, but almost end up ultimately in the same place. You see, Arya is a little bit of a stronger-willed character than Sansa. Sansa's head is in the clouds, dreaming of knights coming to her rescue and beautiful songs, where Arya is more of like the realist, where she does not want to be treated like a lady. She wants to fight and she wants to wield a sword. And then you see, once everything sort of happens, they both go into different directions, but they ultimately end up in the same place where they become more hardened characters and they understand the world around them and what it takes to survive. Arya takes a more direct route, more a violent route, whereas Sansa takes a more subtle route, but they do ultimately end up almost in the same place. Coming in at number 1 is almost every character from the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins, especially Katniss, Peta, Finnick, and Haymitch. What I will say about them individually is that Finnick is my favorite character, and his character arc is one of my absolute favorites as well. We see a very suave, savvy kind of character who is definitely an interesting character to look at, especially in Catching Fire when we first meet him. And then when you get to Mockingjay, you see a very different character, and you see that this was all sort of like a persona and a wall, and you understand why he does that and where he comes from and all that. So it's very interesting for his character. Katniss is the obvious choice as well. You see her go from a girl who is very indifferent about everything around her, and her sole focus is just surviving and providing for her family. But then once the Hunger Games hit her, obviously, she understands that there is definitely a bigger picture and you cannot have a narrow focus. You need to see the bigger picture and understand that the sacrifices that must be made to sort of better your life and not just get by day. And then we have Peta, who is he goes through very plot-driven changes, especially in Mockingjay, but we also see him sort of step up to the plate. He steps up to the plate in very subtle ways we see in the past in Hunger Games, but once the Hunger Games hit, he steps up in more obvious ways, and it's really great to see. And then Haymitch, of course, we have him being another sort of indifferent character until he realizes that Katniss and Peta can be the change that needs to happen, that they can sort of drive this change. So we see him sort of also stepping up to the plate, but he does sort of devolve back into his alcoholic waves. It's really interesting to watch Haymitch step up and do things that he wouldn't have done otherwise. So my top 5 favorite character arcs developments. Let me know down below what are some of your favorites. Thanks for watching. Bye.